Welcome to today's episode. We're going to take a quick look at Rene Descartes and the fascinating journey from his foundational ideas to the development of process philosophy. I'm excited to be joined by a guest who knows these philosophers inside and out.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here and talk about this important transition in philosophical thought, especially since today's episode is dedicated to Francis J. Cunningham, who showed his son that disagreement itself can be a divine process.
Let's dive right in. When people hear the name Rene Descartes, most immediately remember, "I think, therefore I am." But it's not just a catchy slogan, right? It's the foundation, a starting point born out of radical doubt.
Absolutely. Descartes begins by questioning everything, sweeping the slate clean until he finds something he can't possibly doubt. The only certainty left is the fact of his thinking existence. In the darkness of that total doubt, Descartes finds a tiny ember. If he's doubting, he must also be thinking. And if he's thinking, then he exists.
So he takes that single stubborn spark of certainty and tries to ignite an entire philosophy. But he doesn't stop there. He goes further, doesn't he? He asks, if I can be certain I exist because I think, what else can I know for sure?
Exactly. One of Descartes' next moves is to contemplate infinity. In a way, he's amazed that his finite mind can even grasp the idea of something infinite. He starts to wonder, where does this idea of infinity come from, if not from something infinite itself? For Descartes, that was a clue that God, an infinite being, had placed that idea within him.
The leap from our human limitations to the infinite, and from that to the divine, is a big one. Some people would say Descartes is making a jump there.
That's true, and it's a leap that continued to echo through philosophy. Centuries later, when quantum physics started to reveal that the universe itself might be infinite, that it keeps expanding, maybe forever, philosophers started asking whether infinity was more than a theological concept. Maybe it was a scientific reality.
That's fascinating. It's like this conversation between science and philosophy just kept going. And then along comes Spinoza, who offers a new way of thinking about infinity.
Yes. Spinoza, building on Descartes, says that infinity isn't some distant, unreachable thing. Instead, he argues, God or nature are one and the same. For Spinoza, infinity is reality itself, not just an idea or an abstract number, but the actual unfolding of nature, which expresses itself endlessly through everything.
That's a radical idea. Instead of thinking of infinity as just the absence of limits, Spinoza sees it as the ongoing flow of existence. It's not out there somewhere. It's here, in each moment, in the process itself.
Right. And this shift opens up a new perspective. If the universe is truly infinite, maybe it's not only endlessly big, but also eternally balanced, containing both good and bad, light and dark, constantly in motion.
I love that. It makes me think of conversations between parents and children, or even between philosophers. One person says, infinity is just not having any boundaries. Another says, no, infinity is the actual process, the constant becoming. It's divine because it never stands still.
And that leads into process philosophy, which crystallizes in the centuries that follow. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead, for instance, says, reality isn't a static thing. It's always in the act of becoming. Each choice, each act of kindness, or even disagreement, tips the balance just a little in that infinite equation.
You're bringing us right back to our dedication, to the idea that even disagreement can be a sacred act, a necessary step in the ongoing process.
Exactly. Process philosophy teaches that creation and compassion are corrections in the infinite process. Instead of aiming to fix or save the universe, maybe we are meant simply to understand it, to live thoughtfully within it.
So the true act of redemption might be to accept the infinite variety within the world, and ourselves. To see conflict, change, and opposites not as flaws, but as essential features of reality's unfolding story.
That's so well put. Descartes started with doubt, Spinoza with unity, and process philosophy with movement. The universe doesn't need to be rescued. It needs to be understood. And maybe that's the most divine process of all.
Thank you for walking us through this intricate, luminous pathway from Descartes to the heart of process philosophy. And thanks to all our listeners for joining us as we ponder these timeless questions.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep questioning, keep moving, and remember, sometimes disagreement itself is a sacred part of the journey.
See you next time on our ongoing exploration of the infinite.